Hi guys, this is Bowcuts Barber Academy coming at you with a quick tutorial on a mid skin taper. Okay, first step we're gonna do is we're gonna determine where we're gonna set our bald line. On a mid skin taper, we wanna be able to keep the C cup even though it's really light. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually set my bald line from the bottom here, kind of towards the bottom portion of my C cup. It's gonna look a little like this. Notice I'm not marking down like this. I'm gonna come up, and I already wanna begin that blending process by coming up and kind of touching just there. And if you notice, the angle of my cut is actually like this. It's not straight because we want our taper to finish in that same direction. First thing is I'm gonna set it. I'll go ahead and clean up the bottom a little bit here using my corners. That's our first guideline into mid skin taper. Remember, it goes at the bottom of the C cup because I'm gonna have a little bit of hair to be able to round off that top part of the C cup. So the second thing here is a lot of people get confused with how high should I go. I'm gonna take my JRL, it could be a Babulus, it could be an Andes, but it's basically gonna be clipper open the width of a finger in that same direction, okay? Looks like this. I'm gonna stretch my skin. I'm coming up and I'm kind of floating off the head in every single direction. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is once I've established that, I'm gonna go ahead and close my guard all the way, and I'm gonna hit up the bottom just using my corners. If I need a little help, I'll go ahead and just open it just a tad bit. Notice that now I have this space right here. It's going probably from the top of the ear all the way to the corner. I'm gonna go ahead and take my one guard on my JRL, clipper open. Like I said, once again, it could be a Andes, it could be a wall, it could be any kind of clipper that has a lever on it, but it's gonna be open all the way, and it's gonna have a one attachment on top of it. We're coming up and off the head, kind of using that C motion to come off the head at the angle of the head. If you notice there, we've gone open into the top of the head. Looks a little like this. Now we're gonna work about that bottom line by closing the guard completely, the same exact thing we did, and we're gonna hit up the bottom portion of that taper, going into that 1.5 we just created. Okay, that right there is like our basic rough draft into our taper. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna go ahead and add some cleanup work by coming in and touching the bottom, using the corner of our JRL, our trimmer, to make sure there's no spots, and just double check the grain of his hair to make sure there's no spots that need to get touched up. Once we've done that, if we have a really light hand, we're able to see that as we move sideways or straight on ahead, there's gonna be a little bit of ridge line, and that's exactly what we're gonna work on here. We're gonna go ahead and tilt forward, be able to place our comb in here, and just take off just the tips of that hair as we move towards the front of the head. Notice I did not take my comb off the head. Notice I did not grab a foreclip. We want to start learning after the 1.5. I should have no need to go back and grab into an attachment. I should be able to do all my work with clipper over comb. Now I'm going to go back and just touch up a little bit of here that I see, just some hairs that I don't like. It's important to know where you're at on the head. So if I know like, okay, that's probably where the 0.5 is at, then I can come back with either my clipper open or I got to add my 0.5 attachment to the top of that. Let's go ahead and add our little C cup here, starting at the bottom. Something like that. Brush this down. I'm going to go ahead and also just create a nice line from the back, almost like if you're doing a taper line. And I'm going to bring it all the way to the front using our arching technique around the ears. Bring the ear back down to be able to establish that nice clean line all the way to the back on that neckline towards the back of the hair. We'll bring it all the way to the bottom. And I hate the videos that stop. We're gonna go ahead and just detail it. A lot of the videos will say, oh, then you just detail it. No, we're gonna go ahead and do that so you guys can actually see in live time what it takes to get this haircut polished off. This corner, I'm gonna come back here and tap it, and I'll bring it straight down so I could kind of see Now I got my little C cup right here established. I also have a vertical bar. It's very important that if I take this vertical bar all the way off, I'm closer to like a real high taper. This is like a mid-higher taper, but we did that because we still want to keep this, but we want to go light right here in this area. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and take our razor. We'll do one side at a time, then we'll flip over to the other side. What I like to do is we're going to add a brand new blade to our straight razor. Goes in like this. I'm going to go ahead and move it over like this just for the detail work, and then we'll come back and actually razor that bottom portion there. Before we do that, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit. If you can pass me that shave gel right there, the one. So it doesn't take a lot. What we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we're going to do one side at a time so you guys can see a double of how we do it, and then we'll switch over to the other side. When we finish here, go ahead and take my one, just add a little dab of it, nothing crazy. But then I want to hit up this bottom portion here because we're going to get out of our shave, and then we'll do a little bit here just to make sure that bottom part is cleaned out as well. So as I come in with my razor, okay, I'm going to use this portion of this towel to wipe, right? It's really important to be able to see what are we actually doing. So I want to wipe that off. Now I'm going to come in and tap this just with the razor to make sure I can get every single little hair that's there. Also coming up, there's two ways to do it. I can pull up on the skin and come down with my razor, or I can flip all the way around, coming back this way, pull forward and touch the back using the back of my blade, coming down the line there. You can see I'm kind of bringing that line out as I get all the way to the bottom there. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap around here, the back of the head, stretch the skin forward using our freehand technique, and we're going to come down the line right there using the edge of our blade as well. Just to tap this corner right here, making sure it's all nice and cleaned up. Now we're going to get back to this bottom section. I want to ball this out. A lot of you guys be like, well, I don't have a razor. You don't really need one. See, if I know how to use this razor, I could come in soft, get a little tighter, and I'm actually balding out the bottom portion of this fade using my blade just to grab any little hair that I would like to take off. And then obviously if we're going to come back, we could blend a little bit into his beard by taking from the bottom here all the way to this little lobe. We're going to go clipper open, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did going up, but now we're doing it coming down, okay? Now we're going closed all the way, open halfway, close again. We're just doing lever play to make sure that this is all taken out. Now we're going to get back into our JRL and just do exactly what we did at the top. Just make sure that we didn't miss any little hairs there that are still popping out. Okay, so that's pretty good right there. I think that's a finished mid taper with still has a vertical bar, and it's nice and tight and clean. And if we get straight on ahead, he shouldn't have these flyweights that pop out. A lot of younger barbers will want to take attachments, or YouTube barbers, and go attachments all the way up here. If you're a real barber, after your 1.5, you want to get into clipper over comb, because that'll establish any kind of, whether it's in like this or out, it'll give you any kind of actual, like say, if I'm going like this, I can establish any direction using my comb. So whatever direction I set in my comb here, I can be way out here, I could be closer, or I could be in all the way, okay? All right, let's flip over to the other side now. All right, here we go again. Remember, when we're setting our bald line, I'm using my trimmer, okay? And I'm coming up. I don't want to mark it like this, and it's going to be from this little lobe here all the way to the bottom of the C cup, okay? And notice it's also at this diagonal direction, right? It's not straight like a sideburn. I'm lifting up like this. This is considered, would be like a high mid kind of taper, but I'm still leaving my vertical bars along with my C cup. Just like the other side. Stretch the skin, very important. I'm going to come in and hit that corner there. And I'll bring this down because we got rid of it on the other side as well. That's our first marker. A lot of you guys might think that's real high, but I still want to be able to blend this, keep it really tight without going high. And also I don't want to have this harsh line at the bottom of this taper either. So next step, we'll do the exact same thing we did here. We're going to take our JRL, lever all the way open, and we're going to use this almost the width of the finger in that same pattern, about this thick all the way over here, okay? So it's going to come in just like this. Notice I'm going pretty aggressive, but when I come around the ear, I'm off and floating off the ear because I do not want to go or make a tight hole back here. I'd rather have my light spot up front and it be darker around the ear. If we're gonna get light around the ear, no, that's gonna be more like low fade or like a burst fade, okay? So here we're gonna stretch the skin. Now I've taken my JRL and I've closed the guard completely, and I'm just tapping the bottom portion of that taper, okay? Notice he does have that real thick grain of hair, so we gotta be mindful that if I just go like that, it might glide on, and then take a step back to make sure you're actually blending into that section that we talked about before we went in and did our cut. So we're gonna take our one now. Our one is gonna be always now from the top of the ear to that top of that C cup, okay? Lever open, one attachment, and the JRL system, make sure you're looking at that middle one because it gets a little confusing. You got like 3 millimeter and then a 1/8 on this side. Just make sure you're taking that one. Needs to be a one on top of your guard, like I explained earlier. It could be your Andes, it could be a wall, it could be your vapor, any kind of clipper, but it's lever open with your one attachment on top, okay? Now we're gonna come in here, off the head. I'm going pretty aggressive here. We should see our taper starting to form there, but we still got a little bit of heaviness right here on this area, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna totally close our guard and try tapping that. On the other side, we went with a little tighter technique, so we ended up not even needing our 0.5, okay? On this side, I see that we do need our 0.5. It's a little bit thicker right here in this area, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop down to our 0.5 guard, which looks like that. Remember, it's not the 1.5, it's that middle circle number, or if you flip around, you'll have a guard on the inside, and that's the attachment you'll use with lever open. This is specific to like the JRL. We're gonna close that guard. We're gonna try to hit up that bottom portion right there. Coming in. If it don't come off, then I know, guess what? I gotta be back down at my lever just open to make sure that I'm able to clean up that spot, okay? Got a little heaviness there. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing we did on the other side, taking our comb, okay? Brush down, and we're gonna set this comb in at this angle, and we're gonna take this off like that. I don't wanna get a 3, I don't wanna get a 4. I wanna be able to establish the shape of his head using my comb without having to grab attachments. Attachments are good, but once you get to the higher portion of the head, it's really hard to establish that shape because you're gonna take the shape of whatever shape the client's head has, okay? So we're gonna do exactly the same thing we did on the other end. We're gonna come in and start setting our little edges, okay? See right there, our vertical bar, even though it's real small, we still wanna have it marked right there. And then our C cup's gonna come up this way and travel up into that vertical bar, something like that. Now we got some thick grain of hair right here that we're gonna go ahead and try to take off and lighten up using just our trimmer. You see that kind of clears up that little spot that we had there. We're gonna go ahead and brush all this down, and I wanna establish this hairline here really nice and clean, always starting from the back here. Using my arching technique, I'm gonna wrap all the way around corners of the blade on our trimmer, pull the ear down completely, and we're gonna wrap all the way towards the front of the head, okay? Really important, pull the ear back now. That's what gives that nice sharp look coming back into the hairline. And then back here, obviously we could just retrace what we got going on here. Not a lot to that there. Recomb or rebrush, whatever you have in your hand, multiple times. It helps get all the little extra little hairs that are popping out. Do it 2 or 3 times to make sure that we don't miss anything. And now we're gonna be at the same step. We're gonna go ahead and just add a little bit of our shave gel or shave prep, whatever, and it doesn't have to be specific to this kind either. You just wanna make sure that your blade is able to slide on the patron's head without causing any like razor burns or just being a little bit uncomfortable. So we're just gonna add a little bit to the edge there. We're gonna take our towel once again, flip it over like this, and we're gonna go and do our detailing. I always wipe like we did on the other side. I need to wipe. I need to be able to see what we're actually cutting, right? So I'm sure if you could see right there, but what I would do is I'm coming, and could actually go opposite so you guys can see right there. I'm just gonna go back against it, okay? And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to the other side of the camera. So I'm gonna give you guys my back real quick, but I would come all the way to this side here, okay? And as I flip, I wanna try to get you guys to see that angle. I'm gonna pull down, and this razor is actually gonna come up into that line, and it's gonna follow it all the way down. As you guys can see, That's what creates that nice, clean, sharp line all the way to that bottom. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and flip back forward this way. I'll go back to my other side. Okay, remember, get behind the ear. And then we're gonna retouch just this back angle here. Very light, something quick. This is a great way to be able to retouch your clients up. Now, what we're gonna do here, same thing. I'm gonna stretch the skin and I'm gonna use my razor to go ahead and add these last finishing touches on the bottom of this taper, okay? Same thing there. We'll go back with our trimmer. Trimmer should be nice and clean. I'm gonna go ahead and just tap any little hairs that I just don't like or I see are out of place using the bottom of my trimmer. We'll go ahead and do the exact same thing we did going up into the hairline, right? We tapered up, now we gotta taper back down. Same thing, we're at the same spot, bottom of the ear, into that little lobe right there. We're gonna come up, start like, almost like landing on the beard where you're not coming in too harsh. And then we're gonna go totally closed at the top of that and then halfway open until we slowly blend in. And we're just gonna pick at it till we have all the little hairs exactly where we want them. All right, there you go. Last thing, we're gonna come and we'll just tap the front of the line. We wanna make sure that there's no hairs that are popping out crazily. So what we'll do is we'll have them sit straight ahead. Using my comb, I hardly ever wanna use a brush on this. It's really important that when you're doing a hairline or an edge up, notice we're not getting into the actual hairline, we're actually lining up the bangs, okay? And when we do this, we wanna make sure we comb through the hair so the hair lays as natural as it possibly can. Taking our trimmer, we're gonna go ahead and come from the top here and mark in, land. See how we're kind of landing from the top, coming in, just taking that line straight across, as straight as we can. And as I'm doing this, I'm using my peripheral to see both sides of the haircut because I don't want to take too much. I just want to make sure he establishes a nice clean line across the forehead. We'll take our duster, clean them off a little bit. And there you go. That is your medium taper with vertical bar still here into a back mullet. We hardly didn't do no trimming off there. This is mostly just clipper cutting. As you see, if you follow the process, it doesn't take very long to establish where you want your taper to land. And to complete your whole entire taper, it comes together really quickly if you're able to set your lines in the same spot and not repeat what you're cutting, right? You want to set your lines, set your patterns, set your guidelines, and blend into them. And when you do that, it really takes a lot of time off your haircut. All right, thanks for joining us, Bow Cuts Barber Academy, on our little tutorial there. If you guys have any suggestions on what we should do next, drop a comment on the bottom right here and let us know what you would like to see. But there you go, medium skin taper, step by step. This is something you should see with your clients every single day so you guys can know how quickly you should turn your chair and how you could be most efficient and making the most money while being a barber.